Hey guys, happy Saturday. Mama C here with a story for you and some revelation that I got from it. I like to be pretty transparent. I love to share the good and the bad because that's what life has to offer us. And sometimes, of course, we already know social media shows this kind of fake reality that everything is just perfect and we're just all happy and joyful, and shows sometimes like a false idea of what God truly is. And one thing I learned, I heard a lot of people say, they say that God reigns on the just and the unjust. And what that means is that people who do good still experience bad things because we're living in a world that's full of sin, that's not perfect. And then the people who do bad, they still experience bad things too because we still live in a fallen world, right? And so we have to remember that when we run into adversity and things don't go our way, so that we don't start to blame God and we don't start to allow things to break us down and turn us away from God to our old ways, which are sinful, self-sabotaging, things that are just not good for you. So this week was a really rough week for me and my family. I don't really share everything on social media just because, you know, some things, it's not even that I want to keep it private. It's just I don't have the time, honestly, to be sharing everything. I like to, spend time with my family, and that's been more. I've been focusing on that the last 2 to 3 weeks because my kids have been sick. But like probably about a month ago, I got a dog, and I got the dog. Her name was Dala. I got the dog because when I was younger, I had dogs, but like I just wasn't a real dog person. And like I looked at dogs kind of like something like almost like a toy. Like I get them if they're easy, convenient, then I'll keep them. If not, I'm getting rid of them. I was never really a dog person. And so I had a lot of dogs over my time. I had a couple dogs for my daughter, and I gave them away because they would do normal dog things, but I didn't want the responsibility of dogs. I just wanted the look of a dog, kind of how we treat people, you know what I'm saying? But just recently, after having my baby, after healing, after growing, after just having a different perspective on life, I was like, you know what? Like, I started to, like, when I would see dogs in the last year, I would like them. I would be like, oh my God, dogs are so cute. Like, wow. And so I was like, maybe I'm becoming a dog person. So I waited, and then I decided, I said, you know what? I want to get a dog. So I was looking into it since March, and finally I found a shelter in Phoenix where I found adoption. And BMW actually had sponsored the dog, and so I ended up getting it for free. So she was a terrier, American Shire, something like that. Yeah. Beautiful girl. She was 7 years old and just so sweet. And so I decided to go through a shelter because I didn't want a little puppy. I wanted a full-grown dog because I don't really have time to be potty training and stuff like that. And I knew that I could commit to walking the dog 2 to 3 times a day. But like trying to potty train and stuff like that with 3 kids, it just wasn't going to work. So I got my dog, and when I got her, I made a point to buy her everything she needed. I went to PetSmart. I bought everything, brand new crate, brand new big cozy pillows, food, toys. I brought her because most of the time when animals come from shelters, you may not know, I'm kind of giving this information now about dogs because I guess I'm now a dog person. But you guys may not know, I didn't know that dogs actually have feelings. Wow. Dogs are like humans, but they're like animals. They have feelings, they have emotions, and they have anxiety, they have fear, they have all those things. I never thought that. I just looked at them like animals. So I bought her this medicine for like to help her with anxiety. And when I first got her, eyes were like bloodshot red. But like bloodshot red, because they said that the stress that she was in the shelter just took a lot of like weighed a lot on her. So they said that to like just help her get comfortable and give her that medicine to help her with her anxiety. So just know I went all out for her. I got her a little harness, snacks, everything, and I was really committed to it. So I don't know if you guys seen it. I made a video just recently about me doing a blessing somebody with, you know, a vehicle, and how God put that on my heart, and I was able to, by the grace of God. And after I did that, people always say that when you do good, the enemy doesn't like that. You know, you put yourself at risk to go through adversity and to deal with stuff. And like after I gave my car, and I blessed, you know, the girl, and I was obedient to God and followed God's direction, I just went through so many trials. I mean, my kids were sick for like 3 weeks straight. I was not able to really focus on my business as much because I was caring for 3 sick kids all at the same time. Then my baby was teething. Then I had my dog, and I was just, you know, just trying to catch up, trying to get sleep. It just was crazy. And I was getting kind of like weary, I would say. And so I remember one morning I woke up and God was talking to me, and God told me that something like bad was going to happen. Catastrophic. That's what God told me. So catastrophic could be different to certain people, but something really bad was going to happen to me. But God told me that I'm going to be with you though through it. And I'm like, what's going to happen? Like, and you're going to be with me through it. Like, what could happen? Like, I'm not really doing anything, Lord. Like, what could that look like? So a couple weeks went by, maybe like a week went by, and I was trying to like not acknowledge it, because who wants to acknowledge that something bad's going to happen? So I was kind of just hoping that maybe I was hearing wrong. And so I remember it was last Wednesday. Yeah. I woke up and I took my kids to daycare, and they were finally feeling better. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. And it was just me and Dala at home. And I got up and I took her on a walk, because I've been wanting to take her on a walk. I took her on an extra walk. And I started to like look at her, because before I was a dog, I wanted a dog, but I wasn't fully a dog person. So by me getting her was like me trying to literally like push myself to just be better, to just look at animals in a different light and just love all of God's creation, people, dogs, animals, just seeing that everything is made in God's image. And you can't choose what's beautiful, what's worthy of being treated fairly. You can't choose that. So I got her to kind of like help me with my heart. So I remember in my heart, I was like kind of in that same mindset prior. I was like looking for any reason, like if she does one more thing, I promise you she's out of here. And God was dealing with me like, Sierra, like she's still my creation. You cannot treat a dog like this. You don't get dogs and then just think whenever they're not convenient that you can just toss them out. And I was like, dang, like God was dealing with me. So that on Wednesday, I was like finally like looking at Dala, and I was taking her on walks. To remind you guys, I was taking her on walks, but she would like run away a lot. Like she would, if my son would open up my door, she would dip off and I would have to be chasing her. And I just didn't like that. But then she would always come home. So I'm like, this is just weird. So I'm trying to sum it up, but pretty much she, on Wednesday, I started to like really see her, and I was like, wow, like she's just so soft and so sweet. And like I say, I still am healing through dealing with PTSD, and that brings paranoia. So sometimes you just feel just not safe all the time. And I remember feeling that way that day, and she was there with me. And I let her come downstairs and she laid down with me. And I was like, wow, like now I see why people love dogs. I see why people want dogs, because they're protectors, And so literally within 1 hour from there, I got up, went and got my son from daycare, came back home, and I was getting stuff ready for my son because he plays soccer. And my son opened up the door. The dog ran out. And I tried to chase her, and she ended up running in the middle of the street, and I was on the side of the road, and I'm like, Dala, I'm like yelling, Dala, come here, Dala. And there were cars going, but they were passing her, and then this car just came and boom, and hit my dog in the middle of the street. I literally watched her get hit. And it, like, they took her legs, like clipped her legs, like she rolled underneath the car, and cars were just driving by, and some people stopped. They're like, oh my gosh. So it was like her legs, almost like I couldn't even see her legs. She was literally bleeding out of her mouth and like dragging her legs, like screaming and whining. And I'm like, what do I do with this? So I ended up, like, she literally, as soon as she got hit, she's so strong. I'm telling you, like, she was such a strong dog. She literally pulled herself out of the road and was like screaming. And then she got into the area, and I was able to grab her. And even when she was bleeding, and even when her legs were like broken, she couldn't walk, she couldn't move, nothing. She was just in so much pain. I grabbed her, and I like got my kids together, and I ended up put her in her kennel, and I took her to the emergency room. And I had made my mind up. I'm like, like, I'm committed to this dog, and like, I'll pay like $1,500. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm hoping this isn't too crazy. Maybe she just hers. I don't know what the heck's going on. So I take her there. She was in excruciating pain. I paid for her to get the shot. I paid for her to visit. I tried my best, and they came back and let me know that that it wasn't looking promising for her, that she most likely fractured her spine and broke her legs, and by being hit by a car, that's like a very severe injury. And they were like, it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars to get her help. And to be honest, I just didn't have it. It could be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 because the dog can't leave the hospital until they can walk again, and they didn't know if she could ever walk again. So I ended up having to put my dog down last week, and I was devastated. My daughter was devastated. This was one of our dogs that we got, and we were so committed to doing right by, and she ended up leaving us after a month. But what I wanted to say more than that was that I feel like God allowed me to meet Dala and have Dala, and she was such a sweet dog. It gave me a different perspective on owning pets, and it really softened my heart and allowed me to see that I could love animals, and that that I could be a pet owner, and that I could care for a dog. And I really did try my best. I just felt like it was more of a heart issue. Because if anybody knows how pets are, like, pets are kind of like something that, like, it's so selfless to have an animal. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't they can give you comfort and stuff like that, but they can't give you money. They can't take care of themselves. Kind of, you have to take care of them. So it's so selfless of you to get an animal. And when you do, it's like you take an animal out of a shelter. It's like adopting a child that's homeless. It's such a big act. And God was dealing with my heart while I had her. Like, okay, Sierra, yeah, you have her, but this isn't a fairy tale. Dogs aren't just for the looks of it. You don't just to get to rub them in front of people to make them look good. You have to care for them. You have to love them. You can't get rid of them. You can't get rid of them like you can't get rid of your child. And so it's like right when I came to terms with that, about just really accepting her as of my own, we lost her. And my kids were devastated, and we're still mourning that loss of her. But more than anything, I just feel like God you know, I didn't even look at it as like I'm mad at God, like, oh, how could this happen to me? I was like, wow, like, thank you, Lord, for allowing me the opportunity to love on her, to get her out of the shelter, allowing her to have a family that cared for her for a little bit of time. She was 7 years old, but she still was very active and a good dog. But, you know, I didn't get to keep her forever. And so right now I'm just kind of deciding if I want to get another dog or what I want to do. But I always look at every single thing that happens in life as a lesson. And sometimes people don't want to follow God because we're like, you know, I don't want to follow God because of this and these bad things happen. Like, life is going to always happen, but God gives us peace that surpasses all understanding. And I remember when I was at the hospital, I was so upset. And the people were like so shocked at how calm I was. They were like, wow, you're handling this better than a lot of people. And I'm like, you know, when you put your life in God's hands and you understand that everything happens for a reason, there's a lesson in every single thing. And you really don't have control of what happens. You only have control over what you do with it. You just have a different perspective on how you handle things. And I told myself, like, last year, I said, I cannot be distraught over everything that happens. Life is going to continue to happen, rather if I'm prepared or not. Bad things are going to continue to happen, rather if I'm prepared or not. And it's everything is more based upon how I'm going to handle it and how I'm going to react to it. So I just wanted to share that with you guys and know that, you know, if you are dealing with adversity and you're going through things, know that you're not alone. Bad things are happening to a lot of people, but it matters how you're going to handle it. And right when I left, I mean, me, my daughter, my sister were outside of the hospital. We were, you know, making phone calls. I'm trying to figure out what I wanted to do about the dog. And I was so confused and shocked and hurt. And this lady just came out of nowhere. And she was like, ma'am, how are you? Is there anything that I can do for you? I'm like, what? And she's like, is there anything that I can, like, buy for you? And I was like, well, I was going to go get us, you know, Starbucks after this, you know, because we're hurt. And she said, well, let me do it. And she didn't ask me for my number. She didn't ask me for nothing. She took my order down. I went back into the hospital to see the dog for the last time. And right when we came out, she pulled up with our order, didn't ask for nothing, and just gave us so much love. And I was like, wow, like, that was that comfort. It was just so much comfort, and it was just so much peace in that moment, just by that person doing that small gesture for me and us and my family through such a hard time for us. And I would like to say that she was like an angel in disguise. So, you know, sometimes we get lost in the bad of things, so we can't even see where God sends others to comfort us or to do kind things for us. And so I just really wanted to make this video, and I wanted you guys to know that life doesn't get easier, but we just learn how to handle it differently, and we learn how to push through and always find the good in it and always learn that lesson in it. I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. Peace. Mama C.